the Mobile County Sheriff's deputy noticed that the sport utility vehicle had tinted windows and pulled it over at exit 22 on I-65 in Crayola. Court records filed last week indicate that law enforcement officers found guns and drugs. An affidavit filed by an FBI task force officer says a sheriff's deputy noticed a 2022 Cadillac Escalade was in the passing lane for too long on Interstate 65 and had tinted windows.
Born rapper Honeykomb Brazy has a parole revocation hearing in front of Alabama Parole Board hearing officer. It's based on his arrest in Mobile County last month on gun charges. The hearing officer didn't make an immediate decision today on whether he should be sent back to prison on that previous state conviction. But Brazy, whose real name is Deshaun Jones, faces a preliminary hearing next week in federal court, where he's been charged with being a felon in possession of a gun. Authorities say he was the passenger in a vehicle pulled over on I-65 December 18th, and that there were two guns in the vehicle. Jones, the driver, and another passenger were all barred from having firearms. Jones' lawyer telling Fox News the other two men were providing security for his client, who has been the subject of death threats, and whose grandparents died in a drive-by shooting and fire in 2021. The attorney says the guns in the vehicle did not belong to Jones. Well, at that hearing on Tuesday, prosecutors will be seeking a court order detaining Jones until trial.
Determining prosecutors have enough evidence for a grand jury to a gun charge against Mobile-born rapper Honeykomb Brazy. These are charges that come from a traffic stop on I-65 in Crayola last month. Brazy, whose real name is Deshaun Jones, was a passenger in a Cadillac Escalade with two people he hired to provide security. Prosecutors say the three men in the car, though, were not legally allowed to have firearms. FBI agent testifying Jones was in the middle seat in arm's reach of a pistol on the floor. The agent testifying law enforcement pulled over that vehicle for a traffic violation, but they'd been expecting Jones based on social media posts. They say Jones was of interest because he was a subject of a number of investigations. The defense attorney, Josh Briskman, saying his client was the victim of a shooting a few years ago and for good reason wanted protection. He says he's curious the FBI is participating in a traffic enforcement.
I think they're ganging up on him. I really do. I think this is a guy that tried to do everything the right way. His management team hired the security detail. Mr. Jones's safety was at everybody's forefront concern, and they tried to do this in a way where this would be outside the bounds of anything questionable, and it hasn't worked out that way.
The judge noting there's a parole hold on Jones based on a state court conviction ordering him to be detained in that federal case. He said Jones can revisit that should he win his parole case.
Yo, it's Big Ant, the spokesman, man. We back. Another edition of Urban Politicians TV, UPTV. Make sure you stay on your pivot at all times, man. Had to come tap in, and y'all gotta excuse my voice for a couple days, man. The H-time weather been all over the place. If you know, you know. Hot one day, freezing cold the next day, in between the day after that, then it'll be raining, hailing, and everything in between in the past week or so, and they got my sinuses cutting up, acting a fool also. But one thing about it, we still got to get the job done, and when we do the job, we gonna spill the real. And I keep it all the way 1,000 with myself as a grown man. I know I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I know I didn't graduate with the highest honors or got the most intelligence. But one thing about it, 2 things for sure, 3 things for certain, and 4 things for shit show. You can't piss on me and tell me it's raining. I done been wrong a lot, but when I'm right, I'm right. And I was correct that the feds had the target out for Honeykomb Brazy. As we gonna get into the write-up in just a second. And I had a link in the description for Fox 10 where you can watch those videos in full edit. Because once I heard, nigga, I've been through it. I'm a nigga with an old school Monte Carlo. When they pulling you over for tent or sitting in the lane too long, that just means, hey, we have profiled you. But in this case, it wasn't no profile, nigga. They in a new Escalade. That ain't the car that stand out. Nah, they was sitting on that car. The federal agents was riding in the car with the police, following them. They had their target, they had their man. They knew what was inside the car. They knew all individuals that was inside the car. They was just looking for the probable cause to pull them over. So guess what that mean? No matter what that nigga did, they was getting pulled over eventually for something. Because they can always find a reason to pull you over if they want to, my nigga. You could be doing 1 mile over the speed limit, and that could be a probable cause to pull you over. What they try to do is find the best way to make it look good and stick inside the courtroom so it don't look like you was targeted. But what don't come out in the beginning gonna eventually come out in the end when the feds go to court and they speak for themselves. As the write-up says this, Special Agent Evan Fisher testified at a federal preliminary hearing that he was with Mobile County Sheriff's deputies when they spotted a Cadillac Escalade on the W.K. Wilson Bridge on Interstate 65 on December 18th. That right there means he's saying he was with the deputies. The federal agent was with them when they pulled Brazy over. Then it said he testified that the sport utility vehicle was following another vehicle too closely, remained too long in the passing lane, and had tinted windows. All three were traffic violations that gave cause to pull the Cadillac over in Creola, Fisher testified, and because it was fully armored and the driver was wearing a bulletproof vest, he testified, law enforcement officers conducted the stop at gunpoint and found 2 guns inside. Defense attorney Josh Brinksman asked Fisher on cross-examination whether law enforcement officers were targeting the defendant that day. We knew he was out and about, the agent said. Brisman pressed further. Were you waiting on him? Answered Fisher. Not necessarily, but we saw a violation, so we made the stop. What more evidence do y'all need? They was looking for him, targeting him. It is what it is. Fisher later acknowledged that investigators were monitoring social media posts and knew that Brazy, whose real name is Deshaun Jones, was headed toward Mobile from Montgomery. But the agent did not elaborate on why Jones 28 was on their radar. He's a subject of multiple investigations for years, he said. U.S. Magistrate Judge Bradley Murray determined prosecutors had enough evidence to present a felon in possession of a firearms charge to a federal grand jury. He also ordered Jones detained at least until the Alabama Board of Pardons and Paroles decides whether to revoke the defendant's parole on a previous drug conviction. At that point, the judge said Jones could revisit the federal detention order. Brinksman said outside the courthouse that he finds it curious that the FBI was participating in traffic enforcement. I think they're ganging up on him. I really do, he said. I think this is a guy that tried to do everything the right way. His management team hired the security detail. Fisher testified that he was aware that 2 men in the vehicle with Jones had been hired to provide security, but he added that did not matter because all 3 occupants were barred from having firearms. Fisher testified that Jones was sitting in a captain's seat in the middle row. He said there was a pistol under the driver's seat where co-defendant Mason Demetrius Fuller, 31 of Mobile, was behind the wheel, and an AR pistol on the floor between Jones' seat and the co-defendant Miguel Wayne Hall, 39 of Houston, in the back row. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jessica Terrell argued that there was plenty of testimony to link Jones to the gun. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is it was within arm's reach of him, and it was open and obvious, she said. Brisman argued that the evidence indicated his client did not own the vehicles or the guns. He noted that a few years ago, Jones suffered 3 gunshot wounds, 1 in the head and 2 in the back. And in 2021, his grandparents died in their home in the Happy Hill community during the drive-by shooting. He's been a victim of violence himself, Brisman asked. Members of his family have been killed. Brisman told reporters he does not believe Jones did anything wrong. Mr. Jones' safety was at everybody's forefront concern, he said, and they tried to do this in a way that they would be outside the bounds of any questionable, and it hasn't worked out that way. And you can play dumb, play the fool. I done been a fool before, but what I refuse to do now is play the fool purposely. They sat in, waited for their opportunity to attack. They said it right there inside the courtroom. Hey, we was watching them. We was not necessarily looking and tracking them, But once we saw the violation, we pulled them over. So y'all just riding around in Mobile as a federal agent, following Honeykomb Brazy around. That's what you getting paid to do? Nah, we know what this is now, bro. They most definitely was tracking him. I don't know what's what. You know he needs security. Y'all knew he hired security. What's really going on now? But all the details will eventually come out, depending on how it go. They got to wait to make the decision, or they going to violate the parole and things like that there, man. As I tell niggas, we got to do our best to stay out the way. And I'm saying us, not that I'm out here living like that, because I'm not. I don't want this to be confused, but I know that, nigga, you are the target. If you look like me, you are the target. Like I told y'all, I done been pulled over a gang of times because of my profiling of me being a target. It is what it is. This is the way, the things you got to do is do your best to keep your record clean. Because once you get up in that system, their goal is to always keep you rotating in that system, even if it's for minor traffic violations. And they ain't going to tell you that they really under investigation. Tell me what y'all think. We got more coming, more videos, all that. 1000 for shit show. Stay on your pivot.